We've all heard that the best way to learn something or get better at something, the fastest way, is to fail at it. It's awfully common to hear this from experts at a certain skill, where they say that they made their most progress when they kind of embraced failure. Or at least they learned to accept failure and move forward. So what's often missing from this, and the thing that I want to talk about today, is why is failure so good at developing skill? Why does it seem to be perhaps even essential for developing skill? As part of this, I'm going to propose my understanding or my view of what of what skill acquisition is. So to me, what skill acquisition is consistent with what we call the ecological approach to perception. And what that means is to become skillful at something means what you've actually gained is a high sensitivity or attunement to information in the performance environment. You are deeply sensitive to all the little cues and tells and signals which dictate or are coupled with appropriate behaviors so as to pursue the best route towards the objective or the goal. That's like a really abstract way of thinking about it, so I'll just refine it. If we're talking about a game of soccer, for instance, the environment includes not just the physical pitch, but it includes the ball, the opponents, the teammates, and to become highly sensitive to the information present means I am able to read and attend to all the really, really subtle and important information that's present. I can watch a ball be kicked and know just from the way that the person moved prior to its contact, I can know where the ball will land. I can have a sense for the tells or the feints that people have when they're trying to outmaneuver me when I'm attempting to steal the ball from them. All of this to say, skill attunement, skill acquisition is the process of becoming very sensitive to all of this information, and then additionally coupling to that behaviors which are successful in the presence of that information for the purpose of achieving the goal. So what I mean by that is if you detect that the person with the ball is about to make a feint or something and you successfully steal the ball from them, the stealing of the ball was done through some maneuvering of your body, some movement you performed, most likely something to do with your feet and legs in which you were able to take the ball. That movement is coupled to the information. Anyway, whether or not this makes sense at the moment, I'm hoping it will throughout the course of the video. The emphasis of today is to present some examples and hopefully bring you on board with the view that I hold, and in particular make sense of why failure is so important for learning. And an extra little thing that I'd like to achieve today is help you understand why when you're training, you're able to do so many things that perhaps you're not able to do in the actual competitive or performance environment. I want you to have a think about the following scenario to help us make sense of the kind of broader ideas we're going to be talking about here. The following scenario is you're playing a game of tennis and you're in the midst of a rally and a ball has just been hit over the net onto your side of the court. It's not yet bounced. Envision it landing wherever you please. With this scenario in mind, I want you to think about the following perception that's occurring. Wherever the ball is landing, you're perceiving where you are and where your opponent is. Wherever they're obviously on their side of the court, but where they are positioned, are they far to the left, far to the right, whatever. And where are you? Are you up at the net? Are you off to the side? Are you in a good position for hitting, or do you have to run quite a bit to get to the ball? Now what I want you to think about is how two different intentions might influence how you perceive this, or how you think about it, or what information that contains. The first intention is that you're trying to make the rally last as long as possible. The second intention is that you're trying to win the point. Now, where you see the opponent and how that influences what you're supposed to do with the ball now as you go to hit it back, that depends on these intentions. If the intention is to keep the rally going for as long as possible, I want to make sure I hit it to the person in such a way that it makes it easy for them to hit it back. Maybe that means hitting it to their preferred side. Perhaps they like to hit forehands. If my goal is to win, I want to do the total opposite. The information now is sort of in terms of achieving my goal, is telling me the opposite thing. It's saying hit it away from the opponent. It's saying hit it to his weak side. It is not saying keep the rally going. It's the opposite, right? So what is happening here is the scenario physically is the same, the court's the same, the balls come to the exact same place. But what has changed is the intention, and the intention alone. And the intention, by being different, means the information you detect is different. I detect where I want to hit the ball in either case, and that is so different, and consequently, the way I hit the ball will be different. The behavior that results, the behavior that is intended or is trying to win or achieve the objective will be very different depending on which intention is the one currently guiding me. So I hope I've established for you that the information we're perceiving or detecting depends on the intention that's guiding us. And also that the behaviors we choose to perform in order to achieve our goals depend on the information. The information informs us of the best strategy, you might say, the best things to do, the best way to move in order to achieve that goal. Now, we've got the exact same physical situation, different intentions, different information, different behaviors. Why do I bring this up? If you are practicing for anything, any skill, but let's say tennis, if you're practicing tennis in a setting or a way that has you not in the context with the intention of winning, you may be performing in a way or finding information in the environment that's not actually relevant for you when you go to perform. If you're trying to make the rally last as long as possible, I'm sure there's lots of overlap, but there will be a lot of information that you're becoming attuned to that you don't need. And there are lots of shots that you're learning to develop and couple with that information. Lots of ways of hitting the ball that you develop but do not need. Often the development of skill in sports, again, is done where the coach aims to develop a certain movement pattern. And where this development occurs in a manner that's sort of separated from the sports context, the performance context, so that we can focus on it and we can really nail it and perfect it, so that when you do go back into that context, you'll have this sort of weapon that you can bring, this technique that you've perfected, and now you can utilize it in that context. So if this is the way you've experienced coaching, or you've been coached, then I just want to walk through what's happening in light of sort of what we've just thought about. You are learning to hit the ball in a way that is divorced from and ignores all the information, or a lot of the information, that will be present when you actually perform. So I'll give an example here. It's not uncommon for a coach to hang at the net just off to the side. They've got a basket of balls and they'll hit one quite gently to you. It usually lands in like the same spot, bounces, and then you get to practice your forehand over and over. And perhaps the goal is the specific goal of hitting it down the line to what would be the left-hand side of the opponent. If you're doing this, and especially if you're doing this in a setting where there's no opponent on the other side, or maybe there is an opponent, but you're not paying attention to what they're doing in response, if this is the manner in which you're learning to play or to develop your forehand, you're doing so without any attention to the information that would normally be present. For instance, if you're hitting a forehand, you would have to be returning a ball. You don't serve with a forehand. And if you're returning a ball, the ball would never come from the side of the net, or it would be extremely unlikely. And yet here we are having the ball delivered to us in the exact same spot every time by a coach at the side of the net. If you're hitting it down the line, is that a good shot? Well, if it goes in, that's wonderful. That's obviously a requirement. But part of it being a good shot depends on where the opponent is. And if there's no opponent present, how can you assess that? If you can't get a sense for how well they hit it back to you, or if you have no sense for where they're positioned, and when you do actually eventually play, you will need to care about these things. If you have no sense for this, you can't ascertain whether or not your shot was good. You have no ability to say, was that a good or bad shot? However, a coach will no doubt tell you and give you feedback all the while. They'll revise and critique and evaluate as you go, and you'll work on the technical sort of aspect of the shot, totally divorced from any information present in the environment and divorced from the broader context and intention of tennis. The only thing that's present really is that you're trying to hit it over the net and into the opposite court. So to put this thing together in this sort of context of tennis, what I'm saying is if most of your playing or practice is done where you have an opponent who is being cooperative because you're trying to make the rally go for a long time, or there is no opponent at all, you will not develop or come to obtain or attune to the information in the environment that is actually relevant for winning a point. You will never couple good behaviors or movement solutions. You will never come to couple these things to that information so that when you come to perform on the day, and a ball is in the position to hit a beautiful forehand and you cannot pull it off, it's because you have not coupled that forehand that you trained over and over ad nauseum in a contextless environment. You will not be able to utilize that on the day. You will most likely whiff it and hit it into the back fence or hit it into the net. And so this experience which we all have, that the skills don't translate, I want you to think of as because you're practicing them in the wrong context, the totally wrong context. Now, I understand and accept that this idea, this way of looking at skill as an attunement to information is not common. It might not be popular. It may not be consistent with the way you view it. So what I would, and I'll just quickly say what the most common one is. It's really just thinking that skill is the development of an acquisition of movement patterns where we get really good at our forehand or our serve or our backhand, and we can utilize them when we need to. When the moment demands my forehand, I can use it because I practiced it, I repeated it, this sort of thing. If that's your view, if you don't hold the view I have, that's fine, but I propose two things to challenge the view. Imagine if you were practicing tennis and instead of hitting a ball, you remove the ball and you pretend to strike the ball, and maybe there's an opponent on the other side, but you're each pretending to hit the ball, or perhaps you're practicing serving with no ball. I think most of us would say, well, this is extremely unrealistic. You're always hitting a ball when you play tennis, and if you take that away, so much information is missing. Well, I would say this: you're always competing against an opponent when you play tennis. So if our practice takes an opponent out, or it makes that opponent cooperative, or effectively a teammate, you have removed something that is always present in a game of tennis, which to me is akin to removing the ball. So if you think the ball missing makes it, silly and difficult and you won't learn anything, then consider that you may not learn anything when you don't have an opponent as well. The other thing I want to talk about, which is a little different, is there's a lot of games or sports where we say at a high level it's about reading. And what I mean by that is, like, say boxing. We often watch boxing and go, wow, what they're actually doing is they're reading each other. They're feeling each other out. They're getting a sense for the tells, the very subtle little twitches that occur in our body that indicate an oncoming punch. And because they're so talented, because they're so well versed, they're really, really good at picking up this very subtle information. Now notice that's consistent with the kind of argument I've been making, but I think a lot of people would say this is only true of very skilled competitors. Prior to the development of this, you have to get the basic movement patterns down. Maybe, perhaps, but consider, and it's not a huge jump, but just consider that that is actually what skill is. The timing, the reading, and all this stuff. And the coupling of movements to all of that information, that's what skill is. And that you don't need the basic movement patterns. It's not a huge jump, but that's what I would ask you to consider is all that reading and wonderful stuff, all of it, is it possible that that is everything you need for skill to get good at a sport? Or do you need these basic movement patterns to be utilized or brought in? That's a question to you. If you accept what I've proposed as what skill actually is, what I've been calling skill attunement, if you accept that, let's now move back and kind of think about what failure is. Affordances tell us or give us a clue what the best route is to achieving a goal. And we, through experience, couple movements to those affordances. We detect information, we move a certain way because it's worked, it's helped us achieve that goal, and so we continue to do it. If that's what skill is, and we fail, let's examine what that means. If I failed, it means that information that I thought was an affordance actually isn't. That information is not relevant in that specific moment to achieving the goal. Or the information was relevant, but the behavior, the movement I chose to perform was not a good solution. It should not be coupled. Yes, that there was genuinely an opportunity to perhaps strike my opponent in a boxing match, but the way I went about it was wrong. The movement I chose was wrong. So notice in this sense, what failure enables is it tells us two things. It says the information was irrelevant, or it says the movement I chose to perform was not appropriate at that moment. Now, returning to the idea of learning, what failure is doing is it's helping filter all that information, all the information out there in the world, we can just talk about visual perception, but there's so much going on. Failure enables us to filter out what's irrelevant and to focus on what is relevant so that we may detect it in its subtlest form so that we can then exploit it for our gain, to win the game. Or what it's doing is it's telling us the movement we chose was wrong. The information may be good, the movement was wrong. So we should try a different thing. I tried a hook previously, I was punished. Maybe the opportunity was for an uppercut, right? Something like this, or a kick, or who knows. The point being, the failing to do something is the mechanism of learning here. It is how we narrow this stuff down. I'll go into this in a future video, but this is why a coach who kind of embodies this philosophy or takes this philosophy of learning on will really emphasize helping students trying to find and explore different ways to solve problems. Because in doing so, it helps them detect and learn new information, get rid of irrelevant information, and also come up with lots and lots of different ways to move in the presence of that affordance. And in doing so, they make a very robust competitor with lots and lots of different paths to achieving their goal. This you won't see so much in a competitor who has learnt to repeat the same thing that they're very good at over and over. They really only have one path to success, and they might do so really well. But one who has come up in an environment of heavy emphasis of exploration will have a much more robust game, much more diverse array of different solutions available to them. I think the best part about all of this that exceeds anything else is that to practice this way is far more fun than the alternative. Really practicing in this way, if you really do it the way you should, involves exploring lots of different novel ways of solving the same problems in a sport. And really, it involves very little thought or critique of yourself, because it's obvious when you fail. If the ball was stolen from you in a game of soccer, you failed. If you were hit while boxing, you failed. If you hit the ball out or you lost a point in tennis, you failed. These are moments where you can learn and filter and look for different information. If you view skill the other way, so to speak, as the result of heavy repetition, feedback from an expert, lots of criticism and refinement, divorced from context, I think it burns you out. Personally, it burnt me out. And I don't enjoy it. Why would you enjoy it? You're not actually playing the game. You're doing something different to the game to prepare yourself for the game. Whereas this way of thinking that I propose today, what's demanded of you is that you play the game. And that's why you're doing it. You want to play it. You enjoy it. I mean, presumably that's why you want to do it. You want to get better at it because it's fun. It's fun to advance in this skill. It's fun to do this sport. So very little is demanded of you. Your body will figure it out. Like really, it'll do the filtering of information for you. It will move in certain ways to solve the problems for you. You don't have to worry about that part. The part you have to worry about is what intentions should you have on the field? How can you use different intentions to help you to detect new information? How can you explore different movement solutions for the same old problems? This is the new task that is demanded of you if you accept this way of learning. You gonna get it? Hey, you gonna get it? Oh yeah, get it.